This is the Steam Deck 3 months later. It's been a little over 3 months since I got my hands on the Steam Deck after starting this channel about a month before Valve started shipping them out. And in that relatively short amount of time, I've installed 2 brand new SSDs into a Steam Deck, I've installed emulators, I've played tons of games, I've bounced back and forth between beta and stable firmware, and I've even had to send one into Valve to get repaired. So if I had to put a number on it, I'd guess that I've spent at least 100 hours or more using this thing. So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you what I like, what I don't like, and just some general observations I've had over the past 3 months. So the first thing I want to dig into here is the overall experience of using the device framed around playing games, because that's the best and most fun thing to do with the Steam Deck. When the Steam Deck dropped back at the end of February, I thought it was pretty much as close to perfect as a device like this could get right out of the gate. I was overjoyed with it, and I definitely had a little bit of rose-colored glasses, but the point is, I really liked it. The first 3 games I played on this device are Batman Arkham Knight, Tunic, and Elden Ring, which weirdly enough, they're all open world games, so they're similar in that way, but in pretty much every other way, these games could not be more different. Like with Elden Ring, for example, depending on how much a smooth frame rate matters to you, it was pretty much best played on the Steam Deck or on the PS5 running the PS4 version. And if you opted for the Steam Deck, if you could get your hands on one, it basically ran it at PS4 settings, but locked to 30 frames per second and obviously at 720p instead of what I think is 1080p. I'm not sure, it might be a little bit higher on PS5 running the PS4 version, but regardless, the best way to play, in my opinion, was on the Steam Deck. And I had a gaming PC that had a 3080 in it, an i7, and 32 gigs of RAM, and it stuttered like a mother. It was super annoying, but playing it on the Steam Deck, even though I had to drop it down to 30 frames per second, it was totally buttery smooth all the way throughout. Batman Arkham Knight was a weird experience because back when that game came out in 2015, on PC, it was an absolute mess. Like honestly, if you were ranking the worst PC ports of all time, Arkham Knight would be pretty damn near close to the top, just because it had so much stuttering, it had graphics issues, like it was so bad that Warner Brothers had to pull that game off of Steam, work on it some more, and then put it back on the Steam store. And when they did it at a much cheaper price. Now the hardware at this point is so good that it's kind of brute forced past all of its issues, but if you play on slightly older hardware, you're still gonna see stuttering, you're still gonna see some major pop-in, you're gonna see frame drops. But playing on the Steam Deck, I was able to play this at native resolution, all high settings, and 30 frames per second locked. And other than when I'm moving between islands in Gotham City, you get a little bit of a loading stutter, like a 1 frame jump. That was really the only issue the entire time I played it, and I 100%ed this game. I did everything I possibly could, save a few Riddler trophies. So in my opinion, Steam Deck is once again the best way to play Arkham Knight, unless you want to play on like 4K resolution on your TV or something like that. But having this on a handheld really just showed the true potential of this device. So with games like Elden Ring and Arkham Knight, which are console experiences you're playing on a handheld device, the only drawback is the text can be kind of small on the screen because, again, they were built to be played on a monitor or a bigger TV. So I jumped from those games to Tunic when I was done with them, and that is a game that really feels perfect. Like it feels like it was actually made to be played on this device, and there are so many more games like that on the Steam store that I've experienced, like Hades, Death's Door, and Hollow Knight. They still have small text sometimes, but these feel like games that were built to be run on a handheld. So playing Tunic through from the beginning to the end took me around 10 to 12 hours, and I did it entirely on the Steam Deck. That wasn't originally my plan. I thought I was going to jump between the Steam Deck and my TV and just use the cross-save feature Steam has, but once I started playing it on a handheld, it brought me back to when I was a kid and I was in the back of my parents' town and country playing Link's Awakening on the Game Boy my grandpa gave me with the Wormlight, of course. And having that experience once again honestly was a feeling I haven't had since the launch of the PS4 and Xbox One, where that really felt like a big graphical and just scope leap from the PS3 and Xbox 360, where we were really getting next-gen games. I didn't have that feeling with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. They really just felt like PS4 Pro Plus and Xbox One X Plus to me. There wasn't really anything new being brought to the table outside of the DualSense. I think that is as a truly next-gen feature. But my point is, this handheld really feels next-gen to me after 3 months of using it because it's giving me a new way to play games. And I am playing more games on the Steam Deck than I did before at all. Like, bar none, I'm playing and beating more games. When I think about the Steam Deck after having it for about 3 months now, the phrase that keeps coming to mind is what's on the box when you get it, where it says your games are going places. And that couldn't be more true, because the time where I feel like this thing really unlocked its full potential for me was when I traveled to Chicago for a week to look at wedding venues with my fiance. I packed up my backpack with my Bluetooth keyboard, my Bluetooth mouse, my little stand, and my battery bank. I was ready to do some work, but just before I left for that trip, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga came out, and once again, I was brought back to when I would stay up super late at night without my parents knowing, playing Lego Star Wars 2 on my PSP to 100%. I felt like that experience was coming back, but it was so much better because this game looks and runs so well on the Steam Deck. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really get any work done on the actual Steam Deck during that trip because I was playing Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga the whole time, but then right towards the tail end of the trip, I did get one video out because Valve released the most important software update for the Steam Deck yet, the refresh rate switcher update. Man, they really gotta come up with some better names for these. I know Sony's not doing much better with the spring update, but yeah, the refresh rate switching update, I don't know, that one just doesn't really roll right off the tongue. Now the funny thing is, if I hadn't already experienced 40 frames per second on a 120 hertz TV last summer when Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart got that update for its performance quality mode, I wouldn't have understood how big of a deal this already was, because playing games on the Steam Deck, specifically like Sony games like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, they look great at 30 frames per second because they were built to run at 30 frames per second. But when I got this update and I dragged that slider down to 40 hertz and I had Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga set at 40 frames per second, it felt like 60, and it made it the definitive way to play that game. I felt like I was playing a true console experience on my handheld device, which I've had the PlayStation Vita. It was promised to have console-like gaming on the go. I've had the Nintendo Switch, which kind of felt like it was going that way when they started porting games like Doom, Skyrim, and The Outer Worlds, but this was the first time where I really felt like a device was delivering on that promise. This is kind of a backhanded compliment, but like the Steam Deck has also been really bad for my wallet when it's running games looking and playing this well, because with PC gaming at the beginning of 2022 and most of 2021, I was waiting until games got a little bit cheaper to pick them up, because a lot of these games use the killer combo of Unreal Engine 4 and DirectX 12, and when you have that, when you're playing these PC games, you have to cache the shaders on the fly, which anytime something happens for the first time, you get a stutter, and if you're sensitive to stutters, it's super annoying, and if you change the settings, you update your graphics drivers, the game gets a patch, you basically get reset there, and you have to deal with this stuttering all over again. The Steam Deck's killer feature is that it pre-caches shaders for pretty much any game you own on Steam. That's pretty much how Elden Ring was fixed, because that's what was causing the stuttering issue on PC, so Valve figured out a way to pre-cache all of those shaders, which eliminated the stuttering. So even though this thing can't really hold a candle graphically to something like my 3080 PC playing on my 4K OLED, where it does beat that device for me is in overall smoothness of gameplay. And that, for me personally, I'm just saying for me personally, is something that really matters a lot. I haven't really been counting the chapters, I guess, of this video, but this is kind of like the third big area that makes the Steam Deck the ultimate gaming device for me, and that is emulation. I feel like I keep calling back to old PlayStation consoles, but back during the PS3 and Vita days, the thing that made those my two favorite consoles at the time was how I could transfer saves back and forth with PSP games and whatever PS3 games were also available on the Vita. The PS4 and PS5 generations are lacking big time in this area. Probably don't have to explain that to you, but I think it's insane I can't play Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, or Metal Gear Solid 4 on my PlayStation 5 or my PlayStation 4, but I can play most of those games on the Xbox Series X. I don't think you can play Peace Walker or Portable Ops, but the point is, I can play each and every one of those games, including Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain and Metal Gear Rising Revengeance on the Steam Deck, because it is so easy to emulate games on this device. I've messed around with emulating stuff before on the channel. I actually did a video about a handheld emulator. I am not great at remapping controls, setting up the resolution, doing all the busy work in the background that it takes to get get these games running well, and that's where this website called EmuDeck came in so clutch. The best word I've ever used on this channel. People never let me forget it. If you go to emudeck.com, you can just download this program to your desktop. You can run it. It installs every emulator you can think of, going all the way up to the Nintendo Switch, and it does it all for you. And on top of that, it also configures the screen resolution for all these different emulators and gets the controls map for you. So if you download a game, you put it in the folder of the corresponding console, you are just good to go. I have played Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3. All jokes aside, I've also played the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Steam Deck because for some reason Nintendo refuses to release it on the Switch, and if you want a Wii copy of it boxed, it's like $100, which I think is insane. I've also revisited some of my favorite handheld games I used to play at my brother's baseball tournaments, like Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, Pokemon Soul Silver, Star Wars Jedi Alliance, and the movie tie-in Thor game, Thor God of Thunder. It's a really good side scroller if you've never played it. The point is, these are all games that I love revisiting, but I don't play them as much as I used to because I don't want to carry around a 3DS and my work computer and everything else I need in my backpack. Now everything is on my Steam Deck, so not only am I playing new games, I'm revisiting ones that I played as a kid, and it's awesome. I don't really know how else to say it. It's just really cool. And since Valve has shown that they listen to feedback and actually implement it, I wanted to talk about some things that they could tune up on the back end to really make this bad boy the perfect console. First up, let's optimize the software. I love how many features have come to the Steam Deck and how fast Valve has added them, but it feels like every big feature also makes the monkey paw curl in and we get slower performance of the actual OS. Like if you're playing a game and you go to the home menu or you scroll through your games too fast, it makes the frame rate chug, and that it just doesn't feel premium. Like when you're going on the PS5 and you do the same thing, it doesn't slow down. You know what I mean? Next up, you knew this was coming. They got to work on the verification system for the Steam Deck. When the thing came out, I thought it was good, not great. Like it could definitely use some work, but it got the job done. Now today, I just saw a news story that there are 3,500 games verified, and I think that's kind of unacceptable because as the weeks go on, you can see a game go from verified to we don't know to playable to unsupported within the matter of just a couple weeks, and that's crazy on its own. But with games like Horizon Zero Dawn that were verified at launch, they break down halfway through the game. And the big reason I think it's unacceptable to put a check mark on a game that's going to break down halfway through is that people are spending money on these things. Like for me, I already owned Horizon Zero Dawn, so it was really no sweat. I was like, oh, I just won't play it on the Steam Deck. But if someone got the Steam Deck, doesn't already have the game, paid for it thinking it's going to be a great experience on their device, and then had it stutter and crash a bunch during the end of the game, I think that would be pretty damn disappointing. Another great recent example is Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. So that game came out, Square Enix made a huge deal about it being verified, but they picked the worst possible settings for it to run on the Steam Deck. If you set it to low textures and low shadows, it basically should be verified. So I would like Valve to figure out some internal way to check this stuff that isn't the community giving them feedback, because a lot of games are getting verified that shouldn't be, and then on the other side, a lot of new games are coming out with that fat question mark there, and I feel like that kind of goes against the Steam Deck being people's main gaming device. So I don't know what the solution is here. Thankfully, it's not my job, but Valve has done such a good job listening to people's feedback and then implementing it quickly. I would guess that there's some sort of fix for this not too far off. When I was writing the script for this video, I went back and watched my 1 month later video, and I was honestly shocked at how many of the things I complained about in the negative section have already been fixed by Valve. It's pretty cool to see a company turn around fixes this fast when on the Sony side of things, we're still waiting for native 1440p support on the PS5. So whether you just got your Steam Deck or you've had it for a while, I hope you've enjoyed your time playing on the device, and if your pre-order hasn't come up yet, hang in there, it'll be here before you know it.